This is Paul Tepker, and we are doing Different by Design, and it's 1 o'clock in room 43. Did I get that right? Are you guys in the right place? Okay, you're here for Different by Design. I will apologize right up front. This was billed as a double act, and Carol couldn't be here today. I got a text that she's not feeling so hot this morning, so, well, now it's this afternoon. So you're going to have to put up with me. We'll probably be about an hour shorter because we won't have rebuttal time. So there will be less of that. Anyway, we're here for Different by Design. Carol and I grew up Lutheran. In fact, I was conceived Lutheran. My dad was a pastor. We lived in Fort Wayne. I was born in the Lutheran hospital at a very young age, and the color on that is just terrible. I look absolutely sick. Anyway, I grew up and learned to do wonderful things like that and that. And I promise that's the closest we're going to get to full frontal nudity in the next hour and a half. This was my first birthday, and yes, the kitchen was that pink. But I don't understand why the cake was white. My mom evidently didn't know me very well because it should have been chocolate. Anybody would have known that. My first instrument was the accordion. Anybody play accordion? I hated it. Just hated it. Number one, I did not like to wear my instrument. Number two, every time somebody came over, oh, Paul, get your accordion and play for them. Just hated that. And because I wanted to get to the organ. I thought the organ was the coolest thing. This was my first organ. Not much of a whoop there. But anyway, that was the early years. Meanwhile, in a land far away, Detroit, Michigan specifically, Carol is the one in front, and her sister Lisa is behind her. And their difference in ages is Lisa is 10 months older than Carol. You can do the math on that one. The old wives' tales weren't true. She was born a mere 10 months later. This is one of my favorite pictures of her. She's such a dolly. Oh, I just love that picture. She said she was one there. This is her. Lisa is her eldest sister on the right. Carol's in the middle with their little sister Judy. And Gus, who would probably kill me if he knew I was showing this, was there on the left. Well, these two kids grew up. They both went to Lutheran schools, elementary school. They both went to Concordia, Ann Arbor. Any Ann Arbor people? Oh, come on. That's both went to Concordia, Ann Arbor. From there, that was only a 2-year school then, and we both went to Concordia, Seward. Seward? Thank you. One person will admit to Seward. And this picture was taken on my graduation day from Seward. I'm in front of, if you know Seward, I'm standing in front of what was the entrance to the music building. They just tore that down about a year ago, and they're putting up a new place, so that's gone. But Carol's dad took this picture, and I'm forever grateful to him that he didn't stand back farther. Because if he had, we would now be looking at a very wonderful picture of my glorious bell bottoms. What were we thinking? My first call was to teach 4th grade at a little school called Christ Lutheran School in Phoenix, Arizona, which you may have heard of. The room that I taught in was where the one-story building is now. They've torn down most of the places I was at, too. I don't know what's with that, tearing down the buildings where I worked. But anyway, this was my first fourth grade class, and we were doing some kind of music thing there. And the shocking thing about this is those kids are now in their mid-50s. The next year, we got married. St. John's, Fraser, Michigan. No buyers on that. Where have you guys been? You haven't been to the holy places. Anyways, St. John's, Fraser, and the obligatory trip to Niagara Falls, of course. I was a teacher and wasn't really excited about having kids at home, too. So it took us 6 years, and our first daughter was born, and we named her Michael, M-Y-C-H-A-L. I just thought that was really cool for a girl. And when I came to church, it was here, I had pages out of our picture book, our album, with pictures of the new baby. And the people would say, "Oh, so cute. What's her name?" And I said, "Michael." And then they said, "What are you going to call her?" I thought, "What? I just told you what her name is. That's what we're going to..." Anyway, I got really fed up with that. And so this poor lady, the dear chairman of the Altar Guild, came up to me, and we went through the same thing. "Oh, what a lovely daughter. What's her name?" I said, "Michael." And she said, "What are you going to call her?" I said, "Gloria." And there was dead silence. It was wonderful. Anyway, Michael is a firstborn, and as a firstborn, she's very careful. She's the kind of girl where you say, "Don't touch that," and she would back away for fear of touching it. You know, she's not going to disobey. Well, we thought we got this parental thing whipped. You know, I'd go to the grocery store and see all these people fighting with their kids. And now, don't you do that. I'm going to count to 3. I'm going to count to 4. You know, and I could never. What's wrong with them that they can't control their child? Jamie was born. And you can see by looking at her that her mantra in life is, "I'd rather ask forgiveness than permission." So we found out why the other parents had issues. I often told Michael after, I said, "It's really great that you were born first, because if Jamie had been born first, you wouldn't have been born. Wouldn't have happened." Anyway, we learned on a teacher's salary that you have to make fun with what you can find. And so Scotch tape and magic marker do wonderful things. You can have hours of fun, and the cool thing is you can move those things. You know, it's not just set and go. You can move them. The girls grew up, and we decided we wanted to have a family portrait. And Carol's dad was into photography, so we asked him to do a family portrait for us. So we were in Michigan. He got this gorgeous Michigan green background with trees. He put us in front of it and fixed it, everything just so. Well, I need to tell you, my family thinks that I'm always doing bunny ears with people. Now, it's not true, of course, but they accuse me of that all the time. So Grandpa's got us all there lined up. He goes, "Okay, everybody smile. 1, 2, and on 2, the hands started flying, and this is what he got on 3. Notice whose hands are being held down. It just wasn't fair. This is our favorite family portrait. This says more about our family than any other that we've taken, and so we always put this up as the family portrait. It's our favorite. Michael grew up. She went to Concordia Irvine. Okay, we've got an Irviner back there. She graduated from Concordia Irvine, went into teaching, and her first call was to a school called Christ Lutheran School in Phoenix, Arizona. And She taught third grade for a number of years, then sixth grade. She was taught 10 years total. And this was actually her sixth grade classroom, this one. So I feel right at home here. Jamie also went to Concordia Irvine. We still have an Irvine person? Okay. Jamie went to Concordia Irvine, and she worked with children with autism for a number of years. This was one of her favorites. Now she's working in hospitality industry in Detroit. She's helping to start up new upscale restaurants, and she's in charge of hiring and training front of house staff. So that's what she's doing, and she's great for it. I forgot to tell you, Michael, after teaching 10 years, decided she needed a change, and so she's now working in the computer industry, and she's tailoring software for insurance agencies, and loves it, just loves it. She's having a great time. So anyway, those are the girls, and so it's just us now. There's Carol, and you can see who really does the bunny ears. But anyway, whenever we do leading from your strength, different by design, I like to ask people, why did you pick this to come to? Why did you choose this workshop today at this time? I'm asking you.
Because you were teaching.
Okay.
I'm getting married in July.
Say that again?
I'm getting married in July.
So why'd you come to this?
Precautionary.
Okay.
It said marriage. First of all, that caught my eye. Even though we've been married 52 years, we're still working on it.
Yep. Anybody else?
Same here, 40 years.
Sorry?
Same here, 40 years.
Okay.
You still work at it.
Every day.
Every day.
So I would like to start a private practice and do marriage counseling.
Okay. A couple years ago, we were doing this with a group, and I asked the same question. Generally speaking, the men tell me they came because their wife made them, and the wives know why they really came. But anyway, there's this one couple there, and I said, "Why did you come?" And they said, "Well, to be real honest with you, we're ready to throw in the towel. We were ready to separate and go through divorce." And she said, when we saw this advertised at church, we decided we're going to try one more thing. We're going to just try one more thing to see what happens. And so they were there for the workshop and left afterwards. 6 months later, we got an invitation to the renewal of vows that they were doing, which was really, really a cool thing. I mean, no pressure at all, when you're told that people came there as a last resort. But what I want to tell you guys today is different by design is not a magic bullet. It doesn't fix everything, but it's a great tool. And what we as married people need to do is collect marriage tools. There are a lot of them available. There's all kinds of retreats and weekends. There's books. There's seminars. Do as many as you can. They're all good. They all have good points, but they're just another tool. And so you want to collect a tool belt full of marriage tools. That's what you really need. Hopefully today you're going to get a new tool to use, and you will see what are the good things that come out of this. Because like I said, no one of them is a magic bullet that's going to fix everything. But again, this is a great tool to use. I also want to tell you, before I forget, if you want to take notes on this, you're certainly welcome to do that. I have a set of the slides put on the app for this session. And that has the answers to to the fill in the blanks. But if you want to take notes on things that I say, feel free to do so. If you just want to fill in the blanks, they're all there for you already, so you can see them. So, without further ado, we're going to go through a process today. The process has 3 steps. Number 1 is we're going to establish a biblical foundation of what we do and why we do it. Number 2, obtain objective information. We're going to talk about how we do that. And then 3, experience purposeful interactions. Those are the 3 steps we're going to go through. And the same 3 steps we would go through if we were doing different by design as a workshop. Today is a sample workshop. We don't have time to do the whole thing. We're going to go through about a quarter of it. But if you go through the whole thing, there's much more. And I'll explain to you how you can see that. Sacrifice.
They had a dream, and then they had a dream to have children, and then the dad decided not to have children.
Had a dream to go on vacation too.
Say what?
I said they had a dream to go on vacation too.
Yeah.
It didn't work out.
They had several dreams that they
Life gets in
wanted.
the way.
I'm sorry?
Life gets in the way.
Yeah. How did they handle it? Together. Yeah. Yeah.
Dedication.
Yeah. Dedication. Love. Love's putting the other person first. I don't know how they can make a bunch of drawings so emotional. Every time I see that, I just, it's hard to take. But it's so right there. That's what it's all about. We tell kids that they're like snowflakes. We say, God created you like a snowflake. You're very unique. He loves you dearly. There's no one else quite like you. And when we go to Scripture, we come up with Psalm 139. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. What kind of picture do you imagine when you read words like that? Anybody?
Well, first of all, we have a Father.
We have a Father. Okay? I like the word that the psalmist uses, you knit me together. He didn't just say, you threw me together, you knit me together. What kind of a picture do you get with knitting? Design.
Timely process.
Yes.
Same kind of thing as God getting down on his hands and knees and scraping together a pile of dust to make people.
Yeah, God actually put that together. And knitting, to me, I don't knit, but Carol has. And it's very intense, very intentional. It's not just thrown together. It's very careful. And we often use this passage to talk about our bodies being fearfully and wonderfully made. I think it applies to much more than that. I think it applies also to our personality, the passions that God gives us, as well as the spiritual gifts. And why does God create us so carefully with the personality, the passion, the gifts? Because he has a purpose. And we look at Ephesians 2:10. For we are God's handiwork. Another artistic word. We are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus. Why? To do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. God's got a plan for you. And he's got things he wants you to do. And he has given you the gifts, the passion, the personality, that whole package to accomplish those things. None of it's just, oh, we'll take this, that, those. Very carefully, God puts you together. And that's something we want to remember as we look through some other scriptural passages and talk about the body. Paul talks about the body in 1 Corinthians. Sorry. It's coming. I love electronics. Biblical foundation. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, he's talking about a body, a physical body, but he's also talking about Christ's body, the church. And we are members of that and part of that body of Christ. And the truths from that carry over to our marriages. The body is a unit. It's one thing. Though it is made up of many parts, and though all its parts are many, they form one body. So the picture is many parts, one body. Now, when my eye sees that, it registers a picture. It sends a message to my brain, and the brain says, well, we're seeing some brown discs here with some white discs in between them. What is that? My memory says, these are called Oreos. And my mouth says, and Oreos are good. Get me the Oreos. So the brain says to my feet, okay, feet, get moving. So I put one foot in front of the other one. I'm moving my legs, my bones are moving there, my ligaments, my muscles. Put the next foot in front of it, and the next one. When I get to the Oreos, now it's got to get my hand to move. It's using fingers, again, ligaments, muscles, to get that Oreo. Eye-hand coordination to pick it up. My fingers move together, pick that Oreo up. And now my brain directs it back. We've got hand-eye coordination again to get to my mouth. My mouth opens. The brain has the fingers stick the cookie in, and now the jaw shuts, and the teeth start chomping away at that Oreo. And my tongue's going, yes, yes, this is good. Well, the teeth keep chomping away. I've got salivary glands that put moisture in there to help it deal with that. We've got our tongue moving stuff around. We've got muscles that move it down our throat. And I'm going to stop there because we all know where that comes out. The issue is, how many body parts did it take for me to get that Oreo from the plate to where I wanted it, which was my mouth? Lots of body parts involved. And each of those body parts has a different function. But when they function together to supply a goal, it works. And the goal was to get that Oreo into my mouth. So all of those body parts work together with a common goal to accomplish that. Oh, babies are so cute. God was so smart when he made babies cute, because the best I can figure, there are two things babies can do: cry and poop. That's it. The rest, parents have to do for them. Parents provide the food. They put it on a spoon. They fly it up to the mouth, whatever. They change the diapers when the food comes through the other end. They clothe the baby. The baby is very dependent upon its parents. Very dependent. Because the parents provide everything that baby needs. 2 years later, that same baby goes, "It's mine, and I do it myself. Don't help me. I do it myself." They're convinced now that they are totally independent and don't want or need your help, and they're going to do it alone. As we mature past that stage, we learn that we're not dependent, we're not independent, we're interdependent. That we rely on each other to get things done. Go back to the Oreo. How did that Oreo get to my mouth? Well, somewhere a farmer planted seeds. The seeds grew up. He harvested the wheat. The wheat was sent to a miller that ground it into flour. The flour was sent to a bakery where they baked it into cookies. The cookies were put in packages. They were trucked over to a warehouse. They were trucked again to a grocery store where somebody took them and put them up on the shelf, where I picked the package off the shelf and took it to the checkout, and somebody else checked it out and somebody else put it in a bag for me. How many people did those cookies go through before I got them? Lots. And so just like my body being many parts but a unit, so we are interdependent. Together we make up the body of humanity, but we work together to accomplish what we need. So back in 1 Corinthians, the body's a unit that's made up of many parts, and though all its parts are many, they form one body. God created us to be interdependent, not independent or dependent. He created us to be interdependent, to depend on each other. Now the body is not made up of one part but many. We've got that satisfied. If the foot should say, "Because I'm not a hand, I do not belong to the body," it would not for that reason cease to be a part of the body. So just because the foot says, "Well, I can't be like the hand, so I'm not part of the body," doesn't take it out of being part of the body. Somebody have a pen I can borrow? Why did you hand it to me with that hand?
Because I'm right-handed,
Because you're right-handed. What does that mean?
that I write with my dominant hand.
Oh, you have a dominant hand. Okay. If we did that 50 times, how many times do you think you would hand it to me with your right hand?
All the time.
Probably all 50. Yeah, because each of us has a dominant hand that we use for writing our signatures, whatever. Everyone in this room is probably either right or left-handed. Which is better? How many think the right hand's better? How many think left-handed's better? How many think it doesn't matter? Yeah, my brother showed signs of being left-handed when he was real young. And my parents weren't real happy. And so they gently tried to coax him to be right-handed. Didn't work. He's still left-handed to this day. I have a friend whose brother was left-handed. And when he visited his grandmother, she would punish him for using his left hand. She'd spank him. She wanted him to be right-handed. Why?
Probably because she was.
Well, that's there too, yeah.
They used to think right-handed was better.
Say?
They used to think right-handed was better. Right-handedness was better.
Yes. Yeah, they felt that the right hand was better. In fact, many people thought that the left hand had to do with Satan and evil. Now, this is back a few generations, but let me show you how far back this concept goes. Any of you study Latin? Okay, Who knows what the name for the right hand is in Latin? Now, this is back Roman time, okay? It's dexter. Dexter's the name for right-handed. When you say somebody's ambidextrous, that means they have two right hands. Both of them are strong. Okay? What's the Latin word for left? Sinister is the Latin word for left. Ring any bells? Sinister in English means evil, satanic. I mean, this isn't good stuff. So this concept that left-handedness is bad or evil or satanic goes back a long way. My friend's brother grew up thinking that he had to be different than he was. You do not need to become someone different to belong. We know that being left-handed isn't significant of anything like that. We also know that right hand isn't either. We know that now. But for many years, people thought you need to be different. Same with the body. The hand, because the foot says, because I'm not a hand, I do not belong to the body, it would not for that reason cease to be part of the body. Don't have to be different to be part of the body. Just the way God planned you and created you. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? Got an eye. It's the greatest eye in the world. It can see wonderful stuff. I put it on the table, and what can it do? It can see. It can't do anything else. It can't move. It can't roll. It can't, it has one purpose, and that's to see. And that's great. But it needs to be in a body, in a context, to make it work. How about your hands? Have you ever thought about your hands? As a musician, I shudder at the thought of losing a finger. That would just, that's terrible to me. I was teaching this to a spiritual gifts class. In fact, it was this very passage, and we were talking about this. And I said, what would it be like to lose a finger? And Jack was sitting right there, and he held up his hand. He had lost his thumb in a woodworking accident. I was horrified. But anyway, I said, Jack, what's that like? He said, you wouldn't believe the things that you take for granted because of that dumb thumb. I mean, what good is a thumb? A lot of good. A lot of good. I dare you to open a bottle without a thumb. I can't even hold it. That thumb is really important if I want to open that bottle. And that's a silly little thing. I mean, in comparison to what goes on in our lives every day. And the impact the loss of that one thing can be. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? There is great value in our differences. I am glad my thumbs work the way they do, because they do specialty things that the other fingers can't. I'm glad that my eye works the way it does, that my hands, that my feet, because there's great value in the fact that they are different. But God, in fact, has arranged the parts of the body, every one of them, just as he wanted them to be. We saw that when we did Psalm 139. He arranged them very carefully. Now, the word arranged there is actually a jeweler's term. When a jeweler puts together, it's a terrible picture. Anyway, when a jeweler puts together a setting, what are three things that they want to accomplish by the way they arrange that setting and the jewels in it. What's the first thing?
Want to make flash, make it, symmetry?
Okay, they want it beautiful. Okay, so the first thing they're looking for is they want to make something beautiful. Secondly, they have to be concerned about, I'm sorry,
Well, symmetry, symmetrical.
okay, that, to me that's part of the beauty.
Okay.
Stability, that it's held in place, that it's
It's secure.
secure.
Okay, security. So beauty is number one, security is number two. What's the third?
Maybe focus, focal point.
Every diamond has a flaw. It's called an inclusion. And so the arrangement of that jewel is to hide the flaws in the other stones. He's going to arrange that so that it's beautiful, that it's secure, that we're not going to lose parts of it, and that it's going to hide the flaws in the other pieces. Have you ever thought of your marriage as a setting, a jeweled setting? That God put you together with another person for beauty, give glory to Him, for security, and then Carol's flaws hide, or Carol's gem hides my flaws, and vice versa. Those are the three purposes in setting that. So our differences are designed to complete us, not to defeat us. And what you decide to do with differences will divide you or unite you. Now, I want to dig into that last one. What you decide to do with differences will divide you or unite you. Excuse me. Okay, we're going to talk about the law of differences. And the law of differences is not a law in the sense that you will do this. It's a law in the sense that it applies to everybody. It doesn't matter how famous you are. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how good looking, how bad looking. It doesn't matter. It applies to everyone. I'm holding this remote up here. If I take my fingers off of it, what will happen to it? It'll always go down. It never goes up. It never goes sideways. I've never had it do that. It always goes down. That's called the law of gravity. Okay? And that's an example of how laws work. They apply to everyone. It doesn't matter who lets go of that. It's always going to go down. So, with the law of differences, I have a choice. I have a choice. And the first choice is, when I look at someone else and I see that they're different from me, I have a choice that I can judge that as a weakness. I look at you and say, you know, you're different than me. That's not good. That's a weakness. We need to fix that. If I have that attitude toward you, is that going to draw us together or pull us apart? It's going to pull us apart. It's going to create isolation. What does isolation look like in a relationship? Lonely, yeah.
No communication.
No communication, yeah. Just not speaking.
Been there.
Don't, yeah. We all have been there. What else happens with isolation?
Loneliness.
Okay, loneliness. I may physically decide to stay away from you. Maybe I move somewhere else. Or just am never with you anymore. What else results with the isolation?
Feel sorry for yourself.
Okay, yeah, feel sorry for yourself.
You let Satan have a huge opportunity.
I'm sorry,
You let Satan have a huge opportunity to put a wedge right between the two of you,
yep.
just like any regular basis with other brothers and sisters is a huge
Yep.
opportunity to save
Yep.
away.
You think back to the body. I've got this arm here. Now, what if that arm was separated from my body? What's going to happen to the arm? It dies. Yeah. The rest of the body may not die. It might. It might, depending on, what happens. But isolation is going to pull it apart. It's going to eventually end in death, the death of the relationship. And despair is part of that whole process. So if I look at you, I judge those differences as weaknesses, it's going to lead to isolation, which is ultimately going to lead to the death of the relationship. That's the law of differences. The other choice is I can look at you and I can value the difference as a strength. I can say, you're different than I am, and that's a good thing, because you bring things to this that I don't have. And that's a good thing. When that happens, the isolation doesn't happen. It brings us together, doesn't it? You're going to be attracted closer to someone who values your differences as strengths. And that's going to lead, with hope, to life. The life of the relationship. So, to me, this slide was worth the cost of admission the first time I saw it, because I thought, number one, I have a choice. It's not just up to luck or, I have a choice, and I know what's going to happen. If I go down this side, judges weaknesses, it's going to end up in the death of the relationship. If I decide I'm going to value those strengths, it's going to end up with life. That's the law of differences. So when you make that decision, you know what you're going to end up with. Okay? Questions? Comments? Anyone asleep? No response to that either. Okay. That was the biblical foundation we're going to look at. Now we're going to take a look at objective information. The objective information we're going to use is called Leading from Your Strengths, which is a personality profile. It's a modified DISC profile, which tells you about your personality. Okay? And one of the parts of that is a strengths chart. And the strengths chart has 4 continuums. One is the problem-solving continuum, which goes from reflective to take charge, the processing information continuum, the managing change continuum, and the facing risk. Those are the 4 that are measured in the Leading from Your Strengths, which is also called Different by Design. It's a different brand name, but it's the exact same tool. And all of us fall somewhere on those continuums. The only one we're going to have time to look at today is this one, the problem solving. So we will go into that one, but we will not touch the others. The problem solving scale looks like this. On the one end you have what's called the reflective problem solver. The other end we have the take charge problem solver. There is the energy line is the 0 line that runs up through the middle of the scale. And that goes out on either side, 0 to 10 toward take charge, 0 to 10 for reflective. And pretty much these are opposites, but they're both strengths. They're both strengths. What's this?
Baseball.
Okay, baseball. There are 2 sections in a baseball field. One is this up here. What's this called? Yes, the infield. What's the rest called in the back? Okay, that's the outfield. And the infielders act differently than the outfielders. You can see that the pitcher has pitched the ball. It's right over there. It's heading for the batter. When the batter hits that ball, what do infielders do? Yes, and to do that, they run toward the ball. the infielders run toward that ball. What do the outfielders do? If the batter hits a high fly, what do the outfielders do? They back up to catch the ball. So the concept here is that the infielders move toward the ball, the outfielders move away from it. So let's go back to our problem-solving scale. The take charge personality, when a problem lands in front of them, they pick it up, they turn it over, they look at it, and they say, you know what, we need to solve this, and we need to solve it right now. Because if we wait, it's only going to get worse. And so they grab that challenge, that problem, and they're off and running with it. They're going to deal with it. We might describe them as bold, driving, pioneering, direct, competitive, determined. But they act like the infielders. When there's a problem that needs to be solved, they're in there toward the problem, and they're going to solve it now. Make sense? Okay. What about the reflective problem solver? When the problem lands in front of the reflective, they pick it up, they look at it, they turn it over, and they say, you know what? We need to put this down. We need to do some homework. We need to get some more facts, more data. We just need to get our ducks in a row. And so we're going to put that down, and we're going to walk away from it. The descriptors might be peaceful, agreeable, cautious, cooperative, humble, mild. They're like the outfielders. They move back away from the problem. Okay? Get the two differences? And I always like to say, if you're building a team, what do you want? Do you want take charge problem solvers, or do you want reflective problem solvers? Now, before you say anything, let me tell you two stories. The take charge problem solver drives in his driveway tonight, and he sees flames shooting through the roof of his house. He knows his kids are in that house, and he says, house, flames, kids, I'm getting my kids out of there. I don't care. And he's in there to get his kids. The reflective problem solver drives in the driveway, sees the flames, knows that the kids are in there, and says, if I dial 911 right now, the fire department will be here in 7.5 minutes. The wind's blowing out of the northeast, so it's blowing the flames away from... Who do you want solving the problem when the house is on fire? Who's for take charge? Okay, yeah, me too. Second story. You need to invest money for your retirement. And the take charge comes home and says, hey, I just drove past the bank, and there was a sign in the window that said, if we open an account, we're going to get a free toaster. We're getting that toaster. The reflective problem solver says, well, wait a minute. We need to find what's the best account that has the highest rate of interest, the right institution, that we can get our money when we need it. We need to do some homework. Who do you want investing your money for your retirement? You want the reflective unless you like toast. But you better really like it. Because, yeah. What's the difference between the two? The difference is the issue on fire or not? If it's on fire, you want the take charge person to handle it. If it's something that we need to do some more homework on, turn it over to the reflective. There's one other thing I'm going to share with you about this particular one, because this one made a huge difference in our marriage. I'm take charge. I'm a 7 on take charge. Carol's opposite to me in all of them. She's way over on the reflective side. And you can guess over the years, we've had a lot of discussions about that. Well, one of the keys is the take charge personality has a fear. They fear the loss of time. And the key word here is time. Time is hugely important to the take charge personality. I hate being late. I hate making people wait. I hate it when people make me wait. Just drives me nuts. And I realized just recently that I have a clock in every room in the house because I want to know what time it is. And there's a clock in every room, and there's two in some of the rooms because depending on where I'm sitting, I need to be able to see them. The take charge fears the loss of time. Time is supreme to them. To the reflective, it's not that they don't care about time, but time isn't the issue. It's something else. It's not always the same. It's something else. It's something that I need to figure out, that I need to get more data for, whatever it is. But time isn't the issue, and so I'm going to wait and get my ducks in a row before I act. Now, as I've talked through that, I'm pretty sure that each of you has decided that generally speaking, you probably tend toward one or the other. How many would tend toward take charge? How many of you would tend toward reflective? Okay. So, now we come to the interactive part of this. This is the objective part. We find out where we fit on that. Now, how do we interact with this? So I want to ask the take charge people, what do you really think of the reflectives when every time you've got an issue that you want to deal with, they're going, oh no, we're not going to do it now. No, we need to get more facts. We do our homework. What do you really think of them?
They're getting in the way.
Getting in the way. Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta turn your head and roll your eyes.
Okay. Yeah.
We're not turning your head over.
What else? What? Wimp? Yeah, exactly. Come on, can't you ever make a decision? Let's get this done. Come on, take charges. This isn't like you to sit and take this. What do you really think of them?
You gotta be kidding me.
Okay, you got to be kidding me. The house is burning and we're doing nothing. Okay, reflectives. What do you really think of the take charges? When every time there's a challenge, they pick it up and run away with it and don't even tell you about it. Or they just run off and do it. And they're always saying, we got to hurry. What do you really think of them?
It depends on what it is, because some of the time you won't fear the loss of time, like if the bathroom needs remodeling, 10 years later it's still not remodeled. But if it's something else where it's important to him, it will be time.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm thankful for it, because something that would take me a long time to get done would be so quick.
Okay. Any other reflectives? What do you really think of the?
Sometimes it's frustrating.
Ah, yeah, at least frustrating. Yeah. Reckless. Okay, yeah. Now, I want to go back to the take charges. Why are you glad the reflectives are on your team?
We slow down.
They what?
They bring perspective on things you might not have picked up on.
Bring perspective, yes.
They make me
See
slow
all
down.
sides. They make you see all the different sides.
Okay. Make you take the time to do that. Yep.
It's a great balance.
Create balance. Okay. Reflectives. Why are you glad the take charges are on your team?
Still working at it.
I feel like I have my own personal superhero.
Oh, okay. Anybody else? Reflectives. What do you really think of the take charge? I'm sorry. Why are you glad the take charges are on your team?
Sometimes their priorities don't match with ours at all.
Okay?
We'll save some time.
Save some time, okay?
I like to follow. I'm not a creator. I just like to follow the person.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the ending.
Says I'm not a starter. I like to follow the person.
Okay, okay. Hopefully what you've gotten out of this is both sides are strengths. Both sides are strengths. And when our team has both of those strengths on it, we're better. We're better. If we go back now to the law of differences, we've just decided those differences were strengths, not weaknesses. My attitude when I first went into ministry, like I said, I'm strong, take charge. My attitude was, you do things differently than I do. That's not good. And the sooner you realize it, the better for the kingdom. Any questions? I didn't think so. And I got stuff accomplished that other people couldn't do. It was great. And I left the pile of bodies behind me that I plowed over with my steamroller. God's worked with me over the years. We shave off some of those, I have learned that the take charge strength is good about 50% of the time. And the other part, I need to rely on Carol, who's strong reflective, to keep me from running away with everything. And so, again, it causes that conflict. The conflict doesn't go away just because we understand it. But it gives us a tool to work with then, to say, oh, now I understand why you always respond that way. Now I understand why we have to have a clock in every room in the house. Anyway, that's the problem solving. Any comments or questions about the problem solving continuum?
So, it may be rare, but what do you do if you have two people and they're both take charge or both reflective?
Okay, what happens is this. If you have a reflective and a take charge, you're going to have conflict over how to handle it. If you have two reflectives, probably one of them is going to move a little bit toward the take charge to keep a balance. That's one thing that could happen. The other is that if the two people are on either side, reflective, say, their conflict will not be over what do we do, it'll be over turf. Where is my area versus your area? So again, you can still have conflict, but that's why it's important to understand this. And what we recommend and really push with leading from your strengths as well as different by design is that this tool, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute, is a tool to begin conversations. And conversations is how we build relationships. And that's the bottom line. Relationships. My relationship with you, with my wife, whether it's a team at church, whatever it is, it's relationships that matter most. And we build those relationships by communicating, by talking about this. Carol and I had many high volume talks about the conflict over the years, but when we learned about different by design and leading from your strengths, we began to understand, but that's okay. We can talk about it, and we can deal with it and decide, okay, is the house on fire, or do we need to do homework? Or maybe there's two parts to it. We communicate. And that's the key to relationships. Everybody okay with this? Okay. Okay, we just did the purposeful route. Okay, what I am going to do is I'm going to give you one of these. These are for free leading from your strength profiles. And I've stapled them together as two because my intention is to give these to couples represented here. So if you're with a spouse, take 1 packet of 2. If you're alone, take 1 packet of 2, so you have one for your spouse. Does that make sense? Okay. So, do you both need one? Okay. Okay. You want to just pass these around.
Thank you.
Take one if you're a single or a couple. Did you guys get them in back? Not yet. Okay, they're coming.
No, we got, we're good.
And I'll just tell you, we have a table on the opposite side out here, and there's more of these there. So if you feel you need more for family or something, feel free to pick them up. But let me talk about them. What you'll notice is down here, there's a website, justrespond.com. If you go to that website and then enter in the code, there's an 85-digit code down there. And you need 2 of these because every code is different, because they can only be used once. So you need both of these sheets if you're with a spouse, or if you're doing it with a friend, that's fine too. You'll need both of them. So when you go to the website, what you will have is it's completed all online. It's made up of 24 groupings of 4 words. So there'll be 4 words in a row, and you need to pick the one that is most like you and the one that's least like you, and ignore the other 2. Okay? So choose the one that's most like you and least like you. It takes about 8 to 10 minutes to do it, so it's really quick. And don't agonize over it. Okay, just go with how you answer it as quickly as you can and move on. Don't agonize over these, because that says something too. They're scored instantly, and you will immediately be emailed a 20-page personalized report. And if you want to have a look at one, I've got some out at the table that you can take a look at. But it's a 20-page personalized report that has that chart in it that we talked about it. There's also an adapted chart, which is a picture of the day you took it. And then there's some other graphs and things, just fascinating stuff. But what I really recommend to you is that you and your spouse both do it, or you and your friend both do it, then come together and compare notes. Take a look at, what did it say about you? What did it say about me? And that opens the door to conversation and discussion, which is the whole point of this. When I do this with church teams or with couples, I'm far more concerned about the conversation you're going to have than about what it says in the paper. I couldn't care less what it says in the paper. I care about the conversation you're going to have about it, because that's what grows relationships, and that's what it's all about. And you will get one of these with your numbers on it. This is just an example. It's not mine, but it's an example of what you will get in the profile. If you're interested in it specifically for Different by Design, Different by Design uses the same tool. It's just rebranded as Different by Design, and it can be used pre-marriage counseling. What you can do is, if you're a pastor and doing premarital counseling with people, you can give them the two-disc set with some workbooks that we have also, and say, go home and try these out. There's 8 sessions in it that they can work through, and then you can talk about them. When they come back, say, let's talk about, what did you guys talk about with session 1, with session 3, whatever. Can be used the same way for marriage counseling. It can also be used in small groups. You can give a small group a set of the DVDs and let them try that. Carol and I do presentations to large groups if you want to do something like that, or you can even use the DVDs for that too. There's just a lot of different ways to use it. That's the workbook. And again, I've got some of those at the table if you want to see them.